Hello, we're going to be discussing the 20-time Rant experiment, step 3 hypothesis, and the rubric that goes along with it. We have multiple parts to this rubric. Some of them are familiar, some of them are going to be new. Let's go to the ones that are staying the same no matter what part of the experiment we're on. The second to last, HS 6.19, productivity. This is just asking us, are you being productive in class and outside of school? Yes or no? Same on the bottom, the SEP HSA.A, professional. Are you turning this rubric in and the objects that go with it on time? If you are, at the beginning of class, you get 4 points. If you're not, you will get 0, but if you're turning it in at the end of the hour, you'll get half credit. Well, let's go up to the top ones that are newer to us. SEPHS 1.6, you're defining a independent and a dependent variable. So if you identify and define both the independent and dependent variable in scientific terminology, you'll get your top 4 points. And how do we know this happens? Well, scroll down here to the other side, and we have a hypothesis number 1, define independent, dependent, controlled, and confounding variable. You're going to have to refer to the video on Google Classroom, a link below, to refer specifically to the controlled and confounding. If you forget what the independent and dependent are, earlier this year in September, we completed this in class. It was a handout that was given to you. It's a scientific method / experimental design, and it talks about the purpose of it. Then it goes through the 9 scientific steps that we go through in the scientific method. Week 1, identify the problem or question, and then it leads to 3, predict a solution to the problem, aka this is the hypothesis. And then we filled in this region, what is the independent variable, and then the dependent variable. We have both of those definitions. So if we're using that sheet, we should easily be able to go to your rubric on the back side and define the independent and dependent variable. Like I said before, the controlled and confounding can be found on a video also on Google Classroom. Second part of the rubric, creating a relevant, testable research question hypothesis within the means of school. So is the question and hypothesis relevant to what you can do and the amount of time we're giving you? Is it testable? Can we actually get numbers, quantifiable or quantitative data? And can it be done within the school environment? Doesn't mean physically in the school, but within our environment. Is there something too crazy that we can't even, like going to the moon is not something we can do within the school environment? So that's part 2 of this, creating a testable, relevant, and doable experiment within the school. Third one, identify and address safety and ethical issues including the environment, social, and personal impacts. So with this, you identify and address safety and ethical issues for the environment, social, and personal. So is there anything that's safety? Now, if there is not, don't just leave it blank. Just say no safety issues are going to happen. Same with ethical. If you don't have any ethical issues behind this, don't put blank. Actually explain that there are none. Environmental, there's definitely going to be environmental at some cost. Even if you're saying you're building a website or making YouTube, the environmental impact is that you're actually going to use more energy to create this website because you're using more electricity because of it. Social impacts, is your social environment going to be safe when you do this? As in, if you create a Twitter account, are you making sure only people who you know or reliable people you're actually tweeting out to? So that is the third aspect. So we've got define an independent and dependent variable. We've got creating a relevant and testable research hypothesis within the school means. And then we're identifying and addressing safety and ethical issues. The last but not least one in here, designing a well-controlled research project, as in identifying all the variables, independent, dependent, control, and confounding. This is right here your actual hypothesis. When you write your hypothesis for your project, your rant, this is what we're going to look at. Inside of your hypothesis, can we identify all of these, or if they are identifiable? So these are the 4 things we're addressing: identifying and defining the variables, creating a testable hypothesis, addressing ethical and safety issues, and finally, can you actually write a defined hypothesis for your research? And then, like usual, we have productivity points, professionalism, being on time points. Then on the back of this, like I've said before, we've got a spot for define independent, dependent, and controlled and confounding variables. Then you've got to write what is your independent variable, what is your dependent variable. Can you write a confounding variable right now? What is a controlled variable? Then when we figure this out, you had to at some point figure out what are you measuring and how are you measuring it by using some of the resources that are available to you. And those resources are the research you did. So what parts of the research did you look at and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to make my experiment from? What research? And if you're making it off the top of your head through no research, you're just like, well, I think this is because of this. That's not a true experiment. It can't be testable. So you have to have information to back up why you picked the variable that you did. Why are you measuring your experiment this way? Why are you manipulating your experiment this way? You have to have some background to that. Then finally, you write your actual hypothesis below. The biggest issues everybody's going to have is they're looking at their project at such a large view that they can't write just one variable, dependent and independent. You've got to really start focusing in. When you start doing the hypothesis, you're going to look at one variable you're changing, and you're going to figure out how you are measuring that. And that's going to be the hardest part. Bring in all the research you had, bring in all the ideas you have in your head, but only focusing on one of them to test them on. If you start testing and have all these different variables, it's going to just go crazy. You need one variable to manipulate. You need one variable that's going to be actually quantifiable, as in actually countable. So that's the thing we got to work on, bringing all your ideas into one concise idea with one variable that's measurable and one variable that's getting changed. And that's going to be the hardest part, bringing everything down to one measurable and one changeable variable. So if you have more questions, please see Mrs. Rowe or Mr. Frazel pertaining to this rubric. Have a great day, and I'll see you in class.